Hello and welcome to another episode of Search Off the Record, a podcast coming to you from the Google search team, discussing all things search and having some fun along the way. My name is sometimes Gary, and I'm joined today by John Mueller and Lizzi Sussman from the search relations team, of which I'm also part of. So I was told that I should be more empathetic and I should say hi to you too. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
How does this work? This empathy thing?
Just hello.
Oh, just hello? That's it? That's all we have to do? Hello, goodbye.
Yeah, so it's written here that you have to say hello.
Hello.
You have to say hello.
I already said hello.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
The next point in my textbook for empathy is to do some small talk. So, how are you all doing?
Sounds so natural coming from you.
You all good?
We all good, man.
Okay, moving on. So the weather today is very cold.
Is that why we're moving?
We are moving?
Yeah.
Where are we
That's
moving?
the topic today, right? We're moving to a new home.
So I wanted to ask, why are we talking about site moves today?
Well, I think it was my idea.
Explain yourself.
Explain
Lizzi.
myself. I think I have ulterior motives to get answers so that we can fix the docs.
Oh, so good.
We have dogs.
Yeah, we do. Docs, plural. We have to walk them.
Cool. So what do we have to fix? I thought everything is working perfectly. It's like I barely hear complaints about site moves nowadays.
Really?
Did you used to hear a lot of complaints?
A couple years back, we had a lot of complaints about site moves. I don't know. I can't figure out if things in Google are just working better, because of course they are. I mean, engineers are doing fantastic work. Or if people are just reading our documentation, which would be unexpected or maybe good, I guess. What do you think?
Well, I'm curious, what were the complaints back at the time? Like, people could not move to their final destination. What was the complaint, I guess? Like, it's not working. They lose all their traffic, I'm guessing, probably.
I mean, usually it boiled down to traffic, meaning that they started the site move and then they ended up with no traffic at all or very little traffic. Basically, the majority of the complaints was that they lost traffic. And now that I think about it, now that John mentioned it, I also can't think of complaints about this particular thing, which either means that people are not moving sites or something changed on our side, maybe.
Well, I mean, I know there used to be an engineering team that worked specifically on trying to make site moves less painful or pain-free. I don't know, like one of those variations. So maybe some of that worked. That would have been fantastic. I mean, I'm curious to see the reaction of people when they hear this podcast. Yeah. If they're like, "Oh man, John, you're so out of touch. It's like everything is broken. You should fix it again." But I don't know. We'll see. I think also the documentation has gotten a lot clearer and
Nope, this is a lie.
No.
The site move documentation we have not touched.
For years.
Yes.
Like literally.
But I mean, it's
Literally, John.
But
literally,
I mean, those are the years where I haven't seen that many complaints. And it also feels
because
like,
we moved our site.
Well, I mean, it also feels like people externally are talking about the right things. Like they're doing the right kind of redirects. It's like they're not doing, I don't know, meta refresh redirects or something crazy. Like, I don't know who would do something like that.
what's your problem with that?
I don't know. It's like you lose your page rank. It's terrible.
What? Who told you that? I mean, we moved the blogs with JavaScript redirects and it worked exceptionally well.
So you're saying JavaScript is good?
No, I would never say that. Like, literally.
You just said it. It worked exceptionally fine.
The redirect worked exceptionally fine, but not because it was JavaScript. But don't do this to me. But yeah, we haven't touched the docs for probably...
I mean, we stole them, and that's about it.
Right, but that was published there for 2 or 3 years before.
Yeah.
And we have it on onesie for 3 years, 4 years now?
Something like that. They're sort of set up in this structure where it's what is a site move, and then you have two options, with URL change and without URL change. Does that make sense? Who did that?
Pierre.
Pierre.
Okay, so we are talking about Pierre Farr, who was our teammate for until 2014, I think, 15 maybe. And he was very invested in many topics, including localization and site moves.
Do you think that distinction makes sense
Yeah.
to decide, like, all right, is it with a URL move or not?
I always feel like when people talk about site moves, they're talking about moving to a different domain. It's like if you don't change your URL, it's like, are you really doing a site move? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But the distinction nonetheless makes sense, I think, because one is, it's just maybe we are calling them weird, because one is just infrastructure change.
Yeah.
The other one is actually a site move, like
Right.
where you are changing the address of particular resources,
Yes.
and that would be a site move. The other one is just some sort of infrastructure change. I think I was thinking about removing that part, or at least just like compacting it into like 2 sentences.
Like a different kind of site event or something. It's like an infrastructure change, which is not technically a move. We have a rebranding.
But it's not even related to search that much.
Correct.
Like it is, John is making a face. You
The
can't see
stuff
it.
that's in the stuff that's in the doc is like end to end how to do this, and it's not necessarily all specific to search. Like check your web analytics and these other things that are probably good to do if you're looking at it from a web development perspective, but there's other stuff in there that could be simplified because from the search perspective, do you need to do that? I don't know.
Oh, so focus more on specifically stuff for search. Okay, that kind of makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, onesies for like developers.google.com/search is what I call onesie, or we call onesie, and that is a site for search. So we are trying not to accept documentation about like web development topics or topics that are not related to search in some way.
I think that when we start covering those other things, then people start conflating it or thinking like, oh, if we're talking about that, then there must be some secret search issue if I don't do it that way, when really it's
Which
just
there is.
I don't know.
Of course there
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
It is.
You have an
There is.
example?
No.
Okay.
I
Good.
can't say it because it's secret.
Oh, okay. Good talk.
Okay. Do you think it would make sense to, I don't know, maybe link out to other people who talk about holistic site moves?
I mean, yeah. I mean, we do that with hreflang docs, like managing your multilingual and multi-regional sites. We have a fantastic title for that doc. And we link out to Aleida. Aleida Solis is an international SEO marketer. And we had a wonderful podcast episode with her last year, I think.
Yeah.
So we link out to Aleida Solis, who has a tool for, I think, generating hreflang.
Or testing, I think.
And then there's a Merkle, I think that's an SEO company, who created this amazing hreflang checker tool, and we link out to that as well. So I don't see a reason why we wouldn't link out to site move documentation. Incidentally, Aleida has
I was just thinking.
Does she have the documentation
Yeah.
on site moves? Okay.
like the canonical documentation is actually Aleida's. I think it's a spreadsheet.
I mean, that makes sense with a site move, just because it does feel very much like a checklist. Everything over here, make sure you have it in your new location as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, our doc is trying to replicate that. Like
checklist
how would you?
format? Or
Yeah, the checklist format is just. I think we kept adding stuff to it. I mean, it was the same issue as with the old webmaster guidelines.
Yeah.
Like we kept adding stuff to it, and then it just became this Gordian knot, and then you had to untangle it somehow, and then we ended up with what we have nowadays. And probably that's what we need to do with site moves as well, because we kept adding stuff because engineers noticed that you didn't mention, I don't know, AMP or whatever. You should add information about that too, and then we like added it somewhere. And I'm not saying we as in like you or me, but like someone who was
John.
working on the docs.
The third person on this chat.
Yeah, exactly. It's not you. It's not me. It's John. And yeah, we can clean it up. We should clean it up. Make it more
All right. So if we were to clean it up.
checklisty.
Okay. So we will just move to spreadsheet form.
Sure.
No docs, just spreadsheets.
No. I like docs.
I like cats.
Okay. So in this new doc, will it just be about, like, what kind of site move?
Like just a domain change, or what happens if I do a domain change and move from a .ch, which is a Swiss top-level domain, to .com? Is that a problem? Like if I combine a domain change with other stuff?
I mean, technically, you will want to separate things, right?
Wait.
But I also don't understand what the question is.
Okay. All right. So if he's at johnmoo.com and he wants to move to gary.ch, so 2 changes?
So garish.
Yeah, exactly. Is that what you're saying? Like if
Yes,
there's a domain change and the...
Top-level domain.
Yes. Are you saying that we should split those up?
I don't know. I'm probably like digging into way too many details too early. You're like, oh, we will create a big structure. And it's like, but what about this specific case?
You like doing that to me. And then I get in trouble for like saying something and it's like, explain yourself. And then I'm like, well, actually, it was a corner case and we shouldn't document that. And it's like, but I think with site moves, the smaller pieces you can break it into, especially if it's some complex stuff, the safer it is for you. So for example, if you are moving from, I don't know, example.ch, example.fr to example.com, then first I would move probably example.fr, wait a little, and then move example.ch, right?
But I mean, you're thinking like an SEO, and like a company would say, oh, we will just clean up all of these international entities and make one giant global enterprise.
Sure.
Like they're not going to be like, oh, but the SEO says we should do it in 3 months instead of 1 day. Like, what is the argument that you would bring?
I would tell them that there's a relatively good chance that we are going to lose most of our organic traffic from search engines. And we need to do this carefully instead of like jumping in bull shark infested bay.
But I thought you said that they're working well now, site moves.
I did so many site moves in my life and I just don't trust them.
but what worked? What didn't work when you did them? Like how come everyone else can do them but you can't?
What?
Or the reverse, I guess he can do it, but he's doing it
What kind of
carefully.
interview is
I don't know. Why can everyone else do it, but you can't?
Why are you so worried about site moves?
Well, because most of the site moves I did result in lost traffic.
Okay, but how do you pinpoint what was the reason for that?
Well, sometimes I didn't. Sometimes it was just like, okay, well, this sucks. And then maybe 3 months later, the traffic just built up again.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, for those 3 months, we were sweating with whoever I was doing the move with, because people were like, people as in the site owners, for example, they were like, what did you do? Why did you do it? And then it's like, let's revert back. And no, and how about no? So I have at this point, natural fear of site moves, I think.
This does not help, like calming people down.
I know, this is like cranking it up.
I did everything right, and then I lost all my traffic. But it's fine. It's
Well,
like,
you're
we will
saying you
just
have to
stop
like wait long enough. I mean, there was a couple of questions in the office hours about like, oh, like things haven't picked up and it's been 6 months. Do we move back? Like at what point would you pull out, I guess, if you're doing a partial move and it's not working out well? Like, is the advice just keep waiting and it'll happen for you?
Technically, yes. Practically, I think there's a limit to how much time you should wait. And after that, there's not that much that can happen from search engine perspective, like on the search engine side.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically speaking of Google, that limit is not exactly, but about 1 year.
I see. Okay.
So it's not like 365 days or whatever. It's like ballpark there.
Yeah.
And if you waited about 1 year and then you still haven't recovered the traffic to that site, then you probably want to think about other strategies, or even before that, actually. But then again, like if you are managing a site for a business or a site move for a business, then you will not have 1 year to wait,
Mm-hmm.
because that business has to make money. And if they lost traffic, they can't make money. So they will pressure you to do something. And then the something will be to debug what you've done and try to figure out if you've done anything wrong. I think in the majority of the cases, there will be something that you've done wrong.
Like an incorrect redirect or
incorrect
something.
redirect. Most recently, we had some escalations internal from the forums internally that were like, for somehow, I don't even know how, the site owners set up a redirect that only triggered for users but not Googlebot, which is like how did you even do that?
Huh, interesting.
Like you actually had to jump through hoops to make that happen.
Huh.
The other one, I don't remember what was, but there were two prominent ones that were like some misconfiguration or of sorts that caused the lost traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep.
Okay. So if you do everything correctly, what time frame do you expect? Is it something like you're saying, like up to a year in the worst case? Is, I don't know, half a year normal? Or, I mean, half a year is pretty long.
Yeah.
What would you expect? Like, should it be back within a week, a month?
I was thinking that it depends on the size of the site, but
And if you're doing it in parts as well. Because I guess if you're doing like a chunk.
But what I'm thinking is that if you've done everything right, then technically there shouldn't be any loss of traffic, because it's just like this URL is moving to that URL.
Correct.
And there's a redirect in place. So technically, again, there shouldn't be anything lost.
But are people in reality combining this with other things like site architecture changes and other redesign things? Because this usually is involving like a rebranding or some other initiative. So if we're going to redirect, like change URLs, like might as well like fix a bunch of other stuff that we didn't do properly.
Yeah, don't do that.
Okay. Well, pretty sure we did that.
Well, I think in our case it was different because we didn't particularly care about the blog. Like one of the biggest moves that we've done on Onesie was bringing in the blog from googleblog.com.
Yeah.
Like if we had lost traffic to those URLs, it was like...
Nobody was going there anyway, so we were not...
It's fine.
Yeah.
And on what we had on Onesie already, that was not moving around that much. It was the articles that moved in from the help center, some of the articles that we actually cared about, but on larger scale, there was not that much that was risky for us.
And we didn't do like the directory restructuring until like a later phase. But that, in my mind, like that would make sense because we just have the map. Like we're saying from point A to point B. So why wouldn't I just skip the step in the middle? But you're saying that that could cause problems potentially.
User error.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like the more steps you introduce, the more potential errors you also introduce.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I was like...
We should have added actually. That makes a lot of sense.
That's actually very good, Gary. Yeah.
Thanks. It's a first.
I think simplifying things and leaving things out that could lead to errors, that seems to always make sense, especially with these technical things where you're not like monitoring every URL 100% of the time, which is really hard if you have a larger site.
Right. There was also an escalation about redirect 3 domains to 1 domain while redesigning the site and remapping the URLs. And it's like...
It's just a lot of things to hold that are shifting around and even to roll them out.
Yeah.
And it would be hard to pinpoint, okay, like, was it a technical issue or like the new brand is not good? Like the design that you did, I don't know, maybe people didn't like it or it's confusing or there were broken links. Yeah. People trying to click around on your site and now they don't know where to go.
But not even just that. Like even if you are changing the HTML, like the structure of the HTML, that will introduce some changes in how we understand, we as in search engines understand those pages, how we understand the content. Because like even the simplest thing, like we need to see the main content. Like we will try to parse out the main content and understand that that's the centerpiece of the page. And if you change around the structure, you might accidentally change what we parse out as the centerpiece. And eventually we will relearn it. But momentarily, you might actually mess that up.
So in a case where, say, a company wants to rebrand, move to a new domain, and set up a new website, it sounds like the ideal situation is to separate the redesign from the site move.
The way I would do it is to work with the HTML that you currently have, especially for the main content and for the boilerplate, and then do the redesign within the existing HTML somehow. Because it's possible.
Redesign before you move?
No.
No,
With
move
the,
first.
With the move. Because if you're, like, imagine that you are just changing the background image, for example, or you are changing the position of certain objects on the page, but you are not changing the HTML itself that much.
Okay.
So we have an example for this.
Okay.
It's one of the big sites. I will not mention it because they are very, very prominent, but they did exactly this.
Okay.
So they took the HTML that they currently have, they redid it, like the color scheme, for example, the logos, the menu changed, but how the centerpiece was positioned and how the centerpiece content was flowing on the page, that hasn't changed one bit.
Okay.
Okay. Are you saying this is good or bad, or
That was great.
Okay.
Like they
Do that first and then move?
No, you can do it at the same time.
Okay.
Because technically you're not changing the important part of the page, right?
So basically you tell your web designers, it's like you need to work within the existing framework, and then any kind of gigantic rebranding would have to be done in a second stage. I don't know, maybe half a year later, something like
so.
that. Yeah.
That's what I would say.
What about the whole breaking it into parts of your site, like in our section about moving from HTTP to HTTPS? It says like, oh, can I like do this in segments? Should you?
Yeah.
Or okay, why?
Same reason. Loss of traffic or fear of losing traffic.
Is that not confusing to people? I guess like
Why would it be?
I don't know. Like some of the pages have that little triangle, danger, like insecure,
danger. A stranger danger.
Like why is part of this site insecure and this other part is safe?
I would have thought like HTTPS migrations alone would be fairly unproblematic. Are you saying like you still need to watch out for stuff?
I think for HTTPS, I wouldn't worry.
Okay, so is that something that we could, in our new version of this document, have less prominence on?
I mean, I haven't seen any HTTPS migrations go weird
For years.
for a long time. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, with site migrations, the one thing that I have seen every now and then is people moving to a used domain name, and the used domain name has weird history.
Oh.
Then it's like, well, you know the internet, Gary. It's like internet weird. Internet weird. No details. This is a family-friendly show.
Wait, what?
I didn't know that.
I mean, people use domain names for all kinds of weird stuff. And it feels like if you don't pay attention, you pick up a domain name that has been used by someone else, and you're like, oh, this was a pretty cheap domain name. It's like, why is it so cheap? And you move your whole site there, and then suddenly, I don't know, your safe search filtered or something like that. Those are the kind of things where I've seen more issues.
Okay.
But otherwise, yeah, it feels pretty good.
But then you also don't, or you can't easily check for that, can you?
Like to pinpoint that it was a bad domain choice, like that was your issue?
Yeah, I mean, you can check some of that. Like with archive.org, you can look at the old version of the site.
Okay.
I mean, this is something that people do.
It's actually smart.
Okay.
Because you can look at the old site and you can see, oh, it's a reasonable site that was there before, or there was some weird spam, or I don't know what was there before. Yeah. And based on that, you can make a decision. It's like, well, this is what it was before, and this is what I want to be. Does that align? If not, like, how much time do I need to kind of take to figure that out? And yeah.
This is one of those things that feels almost borderline, like it's a common sense thing, but like it also would matter for search. So would we mention that as like a step, like check before you move there, is it an okay neighborhood where you're moving to?
I would mention that because it does have an effect on search. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's something where if you do everything right, it'll settle down. And like Gary said, like after a year, you'll be fine. It's like, maybe you don't want to wait a year. It's like,
especially if it's something you could check beforehand.
Yeah, especially if you can check it beforehand. I mean, there are definitely going to be borderline cases where you look at a site and it's like, oh, it looks okay. And you don't realize actually it was someone's private blog network. And you're like, whoops.
Wait, I thought that's good. I was told that I should build some PBNs, private blog networks, to my site.
Okay.
Who told you that?
I don't know, some dude on email.
On email?
Yeah.
Okay, well, if they said it on email, it must be true.
Well, how else do you get information? Trustworthy information.
This podcast?
Oh. Wow.
The trusted voice.
Wow.
Ah.
Yeah.
What do we improve on those docs? What kind of feedback do we get about that docs?
Sometimes it's like the order of the steps, because we have that sort of listed out, like step 1, step 2, and people are like, why would I make this map like way down at step 4? You're like, okay, well, perhaps we could reorder the steps, but some of the things, I don't know if they need to happen in that specific order. I think that the confusing concept for a lot of people was the idea of like the old and the new URL thing, and like the fact that you would create a map and like what stuff you need to like save a file or something, a list of all of your old URLs. And I think maybe the concept or the phrasing around that probably could be improved.
Like, hello, I'm this massive e-commerce platform. I have 1.7 billion URLs. Tell me how to save this.
I don't know. Well, I think they were just like, where if I have to save it, like I'm downloading it from somewhere. It was more of a like practical, like, is this like a file in Search Console? Like, where is this thing? I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of details. Yeah.
Also, what do you do with it?
I don't know. Like the map was the thing that I relied on the most. Like, where are we going from and where are we heading, I guess? Like I gave it to you for all the redirects and then for the checking of everything to make sure that this stuff moved over here.
Huh.
So to me, like that was the most important part of the whole thing. And like probably where you start is where are you going? And then A and B.
Where are you going and why?
Yeah.
Cool.
So we redo the docs.
Yeah. And maybe, I don't know if we get rid of the other two, reframe I think the whole
We
like,
delete them.
yeah, with URL change,
We
without a
delete them.
URL
I
change
delete
is
them.
a confusing.
I'm sorry, Pierre.
Are you?
Wait.
What?
I wanted to ask about A/B testing. There's a section in the docs that you should A/B test your site move before you move. Should you do that?
What?
Like, why would you do that?
I don't know. Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Well, right now I'm thinking, how would I do it?
How would you do
The-
an
the
A/B
why-
test to see if the new domain is like what are you comparing? I guess.
So the why I can probably get her, but the how, that's
Or maybe that's together with redesigns, maybe that
okay. That would make sense.
kind of organically came from there. I don't know.
But like site moves, I don't know how would you A/B test, because like A/B testing, that would mean that you split off some of the traffic and then you send them to the new domain, for example.
Right.
Do you do that with a round robin setup, for example, or how would you even do that? And then what do you measure?
Correct.
Do you measure that people reach the destination? Do you measure that search
And how are
engines?
you like
And then-
partitioning the redirect? Like only half of them are right. That's what you just said.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'm getting there. I'm a little bit delayed.
Okay, so we skipped the A/B test.
All right. So we could
We are not A/B
potentially
testing.
remove that part.
Right.
Okay.
I'm trying to gather empathy. So, Lizzie, thank
Yes.
you. John, thank you for the podcast recording. I think this was, check notes, a wonderful episode? Question mark? Oh,
I've
okay.
never felt so comfortable
Okay.
and understood. It's been a pleasure.
It was lovely having you here, and I hope that we are going to record more such wonderful episodes.
Yes.
That felt natural to me.
All right.
Felt very ominous, actually. I
Right.
don't know if it's happening.
Just okay.
More.
Just okay. Wait, you have to say goodbye. No, you don't. Wait.
Wait.
No, I have to read something first.
Okay, we're listening.
In the next episode of Search Off the Record, search and open sourcing. We've been having fun with these podcast episodes. I hope you, the listener, have found them both entertaining and insightful too. Feel free to drop us a note on Twitter at Google Search C, or chat with us at one of the next events we go to if you have any thoughts. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Farewell.